Hello, my name is Michael Cartledge. I'm a physician assistant with Northern Family Medicine here in Mount Airy, and I'm also the director of the Diabetes Care Program. Happy to have you here today. We're going to experiment with some recipes that have recently been published in our center's cookbook called Simply Surrey. We're going to have start off with chicken piccata with Brussels sprouts as a side dish, farfalle pasta, and a caprese salad. So let's get started. First, we're going to start off with our chicken piccata, and what we have here is boneless chicken breasts, which I've cut in half long ways. They cook better if they're sliced thin. First, we're going to flour them. We lightly flour them, and this will add a few carbohydrates to the meal, but more than likely it's probably less than 5 or 6. So this is still considered a low carbohydrate dish. And once they're floured, I'm going to sprinkle them with a little bit of salt. And next we'll move over to the stove. We have our saucepan that has extra virgin olive oil in it. It's been heated under a medium flame, and we're going to add our chicken breasts. You want to cook each breast for 4 to 5 minutes on each side until lightly browned. So after about 4 to 5 minutes, you want to turn them once and be lightly browned on that side to kind of help seal in the flavor. You don't want to overcook them and dry the meat out. You just want to lightly seal in the flavors. And once they're turned, we'll let them cook on this side again an additional 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, I think we've reached the point where the other side is done enough. Next, we're going to remove the chicken breasts and put them in a separate bowl on the side. After they've been removed, your next step is to add a little flour. Go ahead and make the roux or the sauce for the dish. So about a tablespoon and a half should be sufficient. Once you've added the flour, go ahead and mix it and incorporate it with the olive oil until you have a consistent mixture, and then you want to continue to stir it under the same medium heat until the mixture becomes light brown. Be careful not to burn it. And next we want to add some white wine to the sauce and deglaze the pan. Add about a half a cup, and then evenly mix it up until the wine is almost evaporated. And your next step is to add the chicken broth and create your base. And once the chicken broth is added, stir it for about a minute. Make sure it is mixed thoroughly. And you want to ensure that you remove any lumps that might form. And next, we're going to add the chicken back to the pan. And any remaining drippings. Our next step is to add a slice of lemon on top of each piece of chicken, like such. Next step is to cover the dish and let it simmer under low heat for approximately 20 minutes. Okay, and while our chicken's cooking, we're going to go ahead and start on our Brussels sprouts. We have a pan with medium heat and extra virgin olive oil added. Simply just add your Brussels sprouts slowly. Evenly distribute them in the pan and let them simmer and lightly brown, and we'll stir those about every 5 to 6 minutes until they're finished. Okay, and while our Brussels sprouts are cooking, let's go ahead and start with the pasta. We have a lightly salted water to a slow boil, and we're going to add our farfalle, which is also known as bow tie pasta. Once you've added the pasta, go ahead and stir it gently. Make sure that it's not sticking together. once the cooking process begins. And we're going to boil those under low to medium heat for 11 to 12 minutes. Okay, and while our pasta's cooking, let's go ahead and check on our Brussels sprouts and see how they're coming along. And they're becoming lightly brown, so let's go ahead and stir them. While the Brussels sprouts and pasta's cooking, let's go ahead and check on our chicken. It's coming along quite nicely, starting to thicken, and you can smell the lemon when you open the pot. At this time, we'll go ahead and remove the chicken. And you can really smell the lemon. Our next step is to increase the heat and reduce and thicken the sauce. While the sauce is cooking down, we'll go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of butter. And we'll add just a little bit more lemon juice. Next step is to go ahead and stir. And you want to reduce the amount of the sauce by about 50%. Our sauce is reduced to the desired consistency. At this time, we're going to turn off the heat and pour our sauce over the chicken. This time we're going to go ahead and set our chicken to the side, and then I'll come back and start our Brussels sprouts. Next, we're going to add our bacon bits to the Brussels sprouts. Just shake them in evenly. Next ingredient is a large pinch of kosher salt. And the last ingredient is about a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. Once you've added that, stir it until it's mixed well. And we need some crushed black pepper. It looks like our Brussels sprouts are ready. We're going to go ahead and turn off the heat and add them to our pan. And now we're going to add them to our dish to be served. Okay, our pasta has been introduced to the colander and it's thoroughly drained, and now we're going to place it in our bowl. And last but not least, we're going to prepare our caprese salad. First, we'll slice our tomato. Usually it's about 1 tomato per salad plate. Want to make the slices about a 1/4 inch thick. Arrange them on the plate. Next, you'll grab your buffalo mozzarella cheese. And you can slice it in any manner you want. Just try to make the pieces uniform. And add 1 per slice of tomato. Next step is to sprinkle your dried basil over the top as such. In the summertime, it'd be nice, you could use whole leaf basil, but this time of year, after the first frost, it's very hard to find fresh basil. Okay, next we're going to add our salt and pepper. Just lightly salt and lightly add some ground pepper. The finishing touches will be to drizzle it with some extra virgin olive oil. And the last ingredient is our balsamic vinegar. Just add a light amount to the top of each one, as such. Okay, now that our food is prepared, let's go ahead and grab our plate and serve the meal. First is we're going to get an appropriate amount of pasta. We want our pasta to be between 1/3 and 1/2 cup serving. That will provide you with about 15 grams of carbohydrates. Next is our vegetable, which is the Brussels sprouts, and there are no carbohydrates here. You can have a small, medium, or large amount. Last is our protein, which is the chicken. There's roughly about 5 or 6 carbohydrates here. We'll add some of the sauce to our pasta. Now, if we put this plate down and grab our reference, we'll discuss the appropriate portions. So let's go ahead and analyze our meal. First, we have our vegetables, okay, which there are no carbohydrates in this preparation. So you can eat as much as you want. Next is our protein. This recipe, again, contains about 5 to 6 grams of carbohydrates, and that's an appropriate serving. You want your protein to be about the size of a deck of cards. And last but not least, let's go ahead and look at our carbohydrate serving. You want about 1/3 cup, which is going to supply you 15 grams of carbohydrates. Now, if you want an additional serving of protein, that's fine as long as you don't exceed the carbohydrate limit per each meal. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation and this cooking video. The takeaway from this is, cooking doesn't need to be hard, it doesn't need to be scary. You just need to plan your meal, count your protein, your fats, and let's not forget our carbohydrates. And let's control our diabetes and not let diabetes control us. Oh, and one last thing, let's not forget our fork. And we'd like to thank the Kate B. Reynolds Foundation for making this all possible.